What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. Thanks for pressing play. Today, we actually are going to be talking about a question that I've gotten a lot lately, and that is, am I going to get a ZR1? Am I going to get rid of my C8 Corvette Z06 for said ZR1? Am I going to get rid of my C7 ZR1 for said C8 Corvette ZR1? Let's go over all of it today. What's up, guys? Like I said there in the beginning, we are going to be talking a lot today about whether or not I'm going to be buying a C8 Corvette ZR1 and if I will be trading my C8 Corvette Z06 or my C7 Corvette ZR1 or both in on said car. Now, let's just start off by saying the C8 Corvette ZR1 is an absolute beast. If you guys haven't seen the reveal yet, I guess you must be living under a rock or something, because this thing has made absolute waves in the automotive community. So, what we're getting with the C8 Corvette ZR1 is amazing. 1,064 horsepower. 828 pound-feet of torque. A ridiculous wing. A pass-through frunk with insane cooling for the twin turbochargers that are on the back. Oh, God. This thing is just absolutely impressive. But there is one gigantic key element missing, and that is price. What's this thing gonna cost? That's where this whole question of whether I'm trading the C8 Z06, the C7 ZR1, or both, that's where that kind of falls apart, because I can't answer that question until I know the pricing. Right off the bat, I'm gonna tell you, there is no way I'm trading the C7 ZR1 for this. So that car is going to be mine for the very foreseeable future. So I don't see that changing ever. Now, the C8 Corvette Z06, I love this car. It is an absolute beast. Everything about it is almost perfection. So it would pain me to even trade this. But with that said, the C8 ZR1 is basically the same car with more power. So it would be stupid to keep both. On that same note, if I wasn't able to get the C8 ZR1 because of price, I would not be upset at all if I had to keep the C8 Z06, because this thing is just, I can't even put it into words. It is such a fabulous car, and we're going to actually go for a ride in it in a little bit here so you guys can hear it, kind of feel it, kind of experience it, because it really is a car that you need to experience. Now, if the price comes in on the ZR1 and it is doable, like I've told you guys before, it has to be under 220 to 230 fully loaded for me to really consider doing this. If it comes in around that price, I will be selling the C8 Z06. I'm not going to trade it, I'm going to sell it, because I'm going to sell it as it sits. If you guys are interested in it, I've already gotten a couple offers on the car and they're pretty considerable. So if you guys are interested in this car, shoot me an email, horsepowerobsessed@gmail.com. I'm going to sell it as it sits with all the mods, everything already on it. I'm not going to take anything off. I'm going to kind of start fresh with the C8 ZR1 if it comes down to that. Now, I want to make this very clear to you guys. I don't want to get rid of the C8 Z06. I really don't want to. So part of me almost hopes that the ZR1 comes out and it's way over that 220 or 230 mark. But at the same time, I really love the idea of having two ZR1s sitting side by side, the C7 and the C8 ZR1. I think that would be really cool too. Plus 1,064 horsepower. Yes. I want that. So ultimately, I'm kind of internally conflicted here, but what I'm trying to say is the price has to be right on the C8 ZR1, and I have to be able to get the right price for my C8 Z06. If those two things happen, yes, I'm getting the C8 ZR1. I literally can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth. But if it does, fingers crossed it does happen, because I can't imagine driving around a car with 1,064 horsepower. Driving this car with 670 is insane. It's like you just got shot out of a cannon. Add 400 more horsepower to that. 400 more horsepower. And that's what you're getting with the ZR1. I literally can't even begin to imagine it. But anyway, let's hop in the Z06, go for a ride, and talk a little bit more about this, because there is a lot to unpack here. All right, guys, real quick before we continue, I wanted to mention the sponsor of today's video and a product we're going to actually display in today's video because it is super useful, is, of course, the Murrysville thermal imaging camera. Yeah, we're going to use this to actually see how hot the front gets on the Z06, because, believe it or not, it gets a lot hotter than it did on the Stingray. And I want to show exactly how hot or how cool it is currently. Now, one of the best things about the Murrysville TP2 Plus thermal imaging camera is that it's best used for tight places, and it can be used without your camera. Here it is actually physically attached to the phone. You actually just use these little rubber pads up at the top and stretch it to fit on your phone. All of the temperatures showing, you can see it's clearly pretty hot outside. If we come back to the car here, the car is pretty cool. And we can see all the way into the actual frunk. So you can see the frunk, the deeper it goes, the cooler it is. And actually it's a little bit warm towards the front where most likely the electronics are. So basically if you point at anything, it's going to tell you the temperature of it. So let's see, where it's warm here, looks to be about 74 degrees. But you can see the trunk is super cool at about 70 degrees. I'm going to come back and I'm going to measure it again to see how hot this gets. Links for all this stuff, the Murrysville, everything we're talking about will be in the description down below. Alright guys, so here we are in what I can only describe as a fantastic car. GM absolutely killed it with this car. How they're going to top this with the ZR1 is still yet to be seen, but at the same time, like I said earlier in the video, I'm a big fan of what's to come, but at the same time, is it worth it? We don't know the pricing just yet, but we do know it's going to be high. So we're going to take a drive in the Z06 and talk a little bit more about what makes this car so great and why it's going to be kind of tough to let go of it, even for the ZR1. All right, so one thing with the Z06 that's better than the ZR1 is that. Oof. God, she sounds good. And that's the thing, guys. I love this car so much, but that's the biggest thing with all of this, is no matter what you do with the ZR1, it's never going to sound that good, no matter what you do. Now, the ZR1 obviously did one of the things I really wanted it to do, and that is it went with the flat plane crank engine. That's great. That's a first step, but oh God, I love it. No matter what you do, the flat plane crank on the ZR1 is never going to sound as good as it does on the Z06 because of the biggest benefit of the ZR1 stopping it from sounding like the Z06, and that is the twin turbo setup. The twin turbos are going to muffle the exhaust. It's never going to sound as good as the Z06. Now, I can already hear some of you guys out there, well, Justin, I thought you had an AWE exhaust and some high flow cats on your car. I do, and that definitely makes it sound better. You could do the same thing with the ZR1, the same kind of mods, and make it sound better, but it's never going to sound as good as the Z06 with comparable mods. It's just not possible. The turbos are going to always muffle that exhaust sound to some degree, and that kind of sucks. Now, it is obviously unfortunate, but at the same time, there's trade-offs. Obviously, you can create a lot more horsepower with the twin turbo setup, and it's not exactly like the it's not exactly like the ZR1's going to sound bad, but it is just not going to sound like this. And not only this, guys, while I'm driving this car around, I am constantly reminded of the fact that this thing is ridiculously fast, like insanely fast. I have some mods done to this car that have added a little bit more power over stock, and even from factory, the car is more than enough. So at roughly 700 horsepower, I can't even begin to imagine what 1,000 is going to be like. I mean, this thing, if I downshift, and this car doesn't have a whole lot of torque, but if I downshift and just mash the throttle, I mean, that quick, it is going ridiculously fast. It's like a rocket. So, yes, I've done the reviews, I've done the driving, I've done the talking. The Z06 is a fantastic car. If I can't get a ZR1, I'm not going to be that upset about it. But at the same time, if I can, the price dictates whether or not I come home with one, because this car is already pretty up there in price. And in my situation, it kind of checks all the boxes for me too. So I don't really know if I really need a ZR1. And we've already kind of talked about this. Nobody really needs a ZR1. Nobody really needs a Z06. But god dang, this car is good. And it really escapes me how it's gonna get better. I guess 400 horsepower more is roughly how it gets better, but at the same time, you guys know what I'm talking about. All right, guys, so after our drive, we're back, and it's roughly 76 or so, 75 in my garage. You can see the C8's a little bit warm. It's kind of funny. So we got a lot of the heat right there from the radiators. Almost nothing in the cabin because I had the AC on, and then back in the power plant here, it's a little toasty. Now let's take a gander under the frunk here and see how hot that frunk is actually getting. But I think we can already kind of start to figure it out. There's a lot of heat radiating through there. All right, so you can see the majority of the heat is right in here, and we're at almost 150 degrees right in the front here. In the frunk, we're at about 92. It's roughly 101 in the back. Wow. Okay, so this frunk is definitely getting pretty warm, but you can see the majority of the heat's concentrated right here in the center, and that's 152 now. This is the center radiator, keeping things cool, but a lot of that radiator heat is making its way into the frunk. And yeah, 92, 93 degrees. You're not going to put any ice cream in there. So there you can see the phone. You can actually use this as a standalone unit. It does not have to clip to the back of your phone. So standalone wise, it's pretty thin, and you can still just move it all around while your phone is doing the heavy lifting, so to speak. So yeah, guys, check it out in the description down below. Of course, guys, in typical PA fashion, right after we were done recording a little bit yesterday, it started to rain. So we had to wait until the following day to take the car out. Obviously, I'm not sure if you guys are able to tell, got my hair cut and a different shirt on. That's why. Pennsylvania weather, man, it's something else. Anyway, guys, if you liked what you saw, smash the thumbs up button. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you really think the ZR1 is going to do here? Do you think it's going to be massively better with a massive price tag, or do you think it's going to be better with just a little bump in price? Like I said before, there was two things that were going to stop me from getting this car. Number one is if it wasn't a flat plane crank, but number two, if the price is over 230 or so fully loaded. I'm starting to speculate it might be, and that would suck. But at the same time, as we just demonstrated with the C8 Z06, it's not exactly like I'm gonna cry myself to sleep. I love this car, so I don't need a ZR1, but I'd absolutely love to have one. So let me know what your thoughts are down below, guys. Smash the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and as always, stay obsessed.